Hi, welcome. Lovely to see you. It's Monday. We're back. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we are going to be cooking live from Italy with Livia and get some ideas for recipes, what we're going to cook for the week. Do let me know what you're up to. Are you out and about? What have you been up? Everyone's been getting to see friends and socialize. It's really great and it feels like really positive, which is lovely. Change at last. And yeah, let's see Livia. There we
Ecco
are.
qua. Hello.
How are you?
Lorna, welcome back. We've been missing you. Not that Kieran is not good, but we missed you. I think everyone has missed you.
I know. I'm sorry. I was looking after my cousin who had an operation, and everything went well. It was great. And I was down in Bristol, so it was funny because I was down in Bristol last week, and all the shops were open and the restaurants were open. So yeah, it was. We managed to get a little bit out and about and get into the shops and have some meals out and things. And her operation was very successful, so it was good. So it was nice. But yeah, I missed you too. I watched you. I did see what you were up to.
Have you watched the live, me and Kieran?
Yeah, exactly.
Because Kieran is very serious while we do the live. Not that you're not serious, but Kieran is very serious. So I overtalk when I do with Kieran. But so one thing that I want to say, I'm very proud of our live lessons because I've seen a lot of our guests that they are doing the recipe actually, which makes me very happy. They send me pictures, even on Facebook. So I'm very proud of all of them because they get to try. So that's very good.
I saw actually, I think, was it Anne? She made your ravioli last week, the beetroot ravioli. Yes. That looks really interesting, really interesting.
Yeah, but there are very brave ones that use Facebook all the time, that upload the picture there and, not worrying. But there are also some others that maybe, they do an attempt and they're not sure. So they send me the picture on Messenger or something. Yeah. I don't want to upload it for them, but a lot of them, maybe 4 this week. So. And also Mark, Mark Norton, he promised he was going to do them on the weekend and he was going to send me the picture. So if Mark is there, this is the message for you. I'll wait for your picture. Actually, you should post it on Facebook. Okay, because Anne has been really, very good. Also, she made it very neat and very, very well.
I know. I think we're all looking for, I think that's the nice thing, Livia, about your live lessons is you choose recipes that actually people want to make and actually they can make at home. And I think it's just great to get some ideas and some recipes. I know on a Monday we always have a discussion about what we're going to cook, for dinner this week, and it's just great to see some new ideas. So yeah, you're great, Livia, for keeping us.
Well, that's good. I'm getting used to it now. If I have to leave, I'm worried that I cannot do the live. If for some reason I'm not available 1 week, then it's a problem. I feel like I should do it along the street from somewhere. We should do something at the market, a little live internet, Facebook live.
That would be great. And listen, what we're doing today, tell us what you cooking up today.
Okay. Allora, today we are doing a pasta which is called filet or fileia. If you want to pronounce it in dialect, you should say filet, even if there is an A at the end, okay? Which is typical from Calabria. And it goes perfectly with a typical product from Calabria, which is Nduja or Nduja, if you want to call it in the dialect way, with a dialect pronunciation. So it's quite simple, and that's a traditional pasta. So it's not a pasta that, I've made up, let's say, or invented mixing different traditions, but it is a pasta that actually is traditional. So I'm sticking to the tradition for this recipe. And this is because I think Lorna have told me that a waitress, you can find actually in Nduja. So I'm glad you can find it because that most of the time we got the problem that when I cook with certain ingredients, then you cannot find them in UK. So I'm worried that I make you jealous or I make you feel like you would like to come. And actually now I feel like you're about to be able to come here, which is very exciting.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think the start of May we should find out when we can escape, which is lovely. But actually,
good.
Yeah, no, I meant to say we're starting our staycations next month, actually. So,
okay. Yeah. Staycation, it means something where you stay, actually. You don't travel. Okay.
Yeah, have a holiday at home. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Wait, no, which is something I think that maybe British don't do very often. You are more open-minded and you travel everywhere very easily, or maybe because of the weather. But I think now, well, actually, and also in our live lesson, we have realized that a lot of our guests love to learn Scottish cooking, for example.
Yeah. That's right, that's true. And actually, do you remember, Livia, we're going back, our staycations, the first ones are in Ely and Fife. Remember we were there years ago, we had a holiday there together.
Ely, I remember. Beautiful,
Yeah,
on the beach, and it was a
Yeah.
very long beach, very beautiful at the sunset also. And I remember we cooked the risotto with wild garlic.
Yes,
I will
that's
always
right.
remember, and wild leeks, a mixture. We cooked with what we had because when we got there it was late.
That's right.
So
And
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, we went to St Andrews. It's very near. It's the Fife Coast. So yeah, it'd be really nice actually. We're going to be welcoming us back next month, which is exciting. Yeah, it'll be really strange. It's going to be lovely. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, perfect. Okay, so now I'll just show you the ingredients that we are going to use today for this lesson. Okay, so this is Nduja or Nduja, if you want to call it. There is a strange word because it is in dialect, so that's why it got a strange accent at the beginning that make you aspirare. I don't know how you say it in English. Anyway, it's a way to pronounce it that makes it sound like if it's an I, Nduja. Okay, so that's, let's say, like a sausage, but it's not a sausage actually, very different, with chili. You know, Calabria is famous for chili pepper. So this is why this kind of sausage is produced just there, because Calabria is where chili pepper has first developed in Italy, and they kept this strong tradition of using chilies in a lot of different recipes that they make. It doesn't mean that Nduja will have to be very chilled. No, si dice very chilled. No, chilled means cold. Very chilly, okay? So,
Spicy.
Yeah, spicy. Better for me to pronounce it. So I think you can find different, also in UK maybe, different different amount of chili in this kind of sausage that will make it more or less spicy. So the one that I've tasted, I remember when I was in Calabria, it was not spicy almost at all. It was just with a nice consistency and with a nice flavor, because chili pepper, as a first thing, is a vegetable, and actually it is a pepper. So pepper can have a lot of flesh, and it can make whatever you cook quite tender, let's say soft, let's say consistency. So the chili that is inside Nduja is used because it's traditional to produce it there, but also it's used because it makes the sausage meat preserve. Okay, so Nduja is produced with, let's say, leftover bits of the pork meat, like a sausage would be, but also with a good cut of meat. Okay, it's always pork meat, just pork meat. And actually, in Nduja, there are 60% of meat which is quite fat, and is lardelli or guanciale, or so quite the fat part of the pork meat. What is left over after the producing of all the different ham appear in Emilia-Romagna. Then the leftover bits of making, while they make pancetta or, you know, the cured one, or while they make ham, they send them to Calabria. And Calabria just use the meat. They don't have pork meat production, so they don't have pigs in Calabria. They just receive the meat from the north. Then the meat is minced, and just 60% of the meat used in Nduja, it's very fat. The 40% of the meat is actually very, in Italian we say magra, not fat at all.
Lean,
so,
lean.
How do you call it? Lean, okay. Lean. So Nduja actually is even more healthy than a sausage, because in a sausage there are really just leftovers, let's say minced. Instead, in Nduja there are also a part of the meat which is not fat at all. Okay. Then the rest of the other important concept that you need to know about Nduja is 30% of Nduja is peppers. I'm not going to call it chili peppers because I'm not sure they're going to use chili peppers in this mixture, and 70% is meat. Okay. So the kind of peppers that they use, usually they choose between, let's say, 3 different varieties of peppers that they like to use, that they like in terms of amount of spiciness, if I can say, that give to this kind of sausage, and they mix it. So they actually collect it quite late from the plant. They make Nduja usually in October. After the pepper is collected in Calabria, they take off the stalk, okay, part of the seeds, and then they let it dry for about 15 days. It is a mixture, usually, of 3 different varieties of peppers. Some of them are not chili, and some are chili peppers. Okay, so don't think that Nduja is always very spicy. It doesn't mean super spicy cured meat, let's say. So then after the peppers, which are the most important part of Nduja, not the meat, but the peppers, okay, are dried, they are mixed to the meat, and they are worked together in a quite soft dough that I would like to show you here. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite soft, and it melts very easily in some warm water, for example, or you can spread it on top of a slice of bread, like I'm going to show you in a little while, and just eat it like a soft sausage, let's say. So you can use Nduja for so many recipes, like, for example, you can add a little bit in your sauce, in your pasta sauce. You can use it in every other preparation that you make, like even if you make a stew and you want to make it a little bit chili, but not too much, want to give it a kick, let's say, you should add even just a spoon of it. So the traditional recipe we're going to do today is the way they use Nduja for a pasta here, there in Calabria. I wish I was there, but just here in Emilia-Romagna. So we're going to use for this recipe le cipolle di Tropea. Okay, so this is a spring onion from Tropea. Tropea is a village, let's say 15 kilometers from Spilinga, which is the town where Nduja comes from, where it's produced, where it's mainly produced, and where it's been originated. So Tropea is a place on the sea, beautiful, where with flavors we're going to do a flavors holiday, vero Lorna? We're going in the future. Okay, because it's really beautiful. So we, I don't know, I hope so, we will be able to go visit the fields of Cipolla di Tropea. So this onion grow in a special conditions, very close to the sea, with the warm weather, and it makes it, at the end, a quite sweet onion with a special flavor, let's say. So it doesn't make you cry. Now I will try, and it doesn't make you cry. It allows you to use a big amount of it because it's not too strong in terms of flavor and easy to digest. It's quite delicate with other ingredients. And I hope you have it in UK, Lorna. I don't know if you can. I'm sure you import it. It's just that it's seasonal and it's not all year round. So I think if you go to Waitrose, you might be able to find it because it's very famous. So if you have the older one, you know, when it becomes with all the, come si dice? I don't know how to call it, with all what surrounds it, you know, dry, then you should peel it, in that case, quite a lot to get to the heart of it. Instead, we are using a fresh one, so there is not much to take away, but I'm still going to peel it.
Could you use just a red onion, Livia, if you couldn't get your special?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because it's a variety of onion that is sweeter than the white one or the yellow one, for sure. Yeah. So unless, you know, most of the time I like to use shallot. And actually, if you think about shallot and you think about the color of shallot, you realize that it's actually red, also shallot outside. And it makes it sweeter than any other onion flavor. Yeah. So even shallot is quite red.
Yeah, you could also use a white onion. I remember years ago, you know, you often use white onions in cooking in Italy.
Yeah, which onion?
White onions.
White onion, yeah, white onion also are young. The one that we use less maybe are the golden one. Yeah. We have them, obviously, we use them, but they're less delicate. And I think they can produce easily everywhere. Instead, this red color makes them with a special flavor, and maybe they have to grow in special conditions and they are more sweet. So in Tuscany, they use very often red onion. And but it's different. Tropea onion is different. As much as it's not called Tropea onion, but it's called just Tropea. When you say Tropea, it's not just the city, but it's also on the sea, but it's also just the onion. So I'm going to slice it, quite thin, because I don't want. Yeah.
Right. This is the sauce then for the pasta, the base.
Yeah, this is the main part of the sauce, let's say, because Nduja going to be added as a few spoon. Just melted with some water and then mix it to the pasta sauce at the end. So the main thing is this onion and also obviously plum tomatoes. So it is a big amount of onion. So it is 1 onion, let's say, for each person. So there are some pasta sauce in Calabria based on this onion that include an amount of 1 onion for each person. So it's really a big amount of onion, but as I was saying, it's a delicate onion. It's not too flavored, and very delicate, and it's good also. In big amounts, it's easy to digest it. As you can see, I'm not warming the oil. This is something that I do all the time. And you don't need to deep fry this onion. You just have to soften it. So you have to cook it and soften it. So you don't want a high flame for this. So for this reason, we are just going to soften it slowly, we can say. Okay, so not too high flame. And I don't need to warm the oil because I want not to fry it, but I just want to soften it. So I'm adding the oil now. So the oil, about 3 spoons, is the same temperature as the onion right now. So they're both cold. These don't make it fry, don't risk to burn it. It needs to cook, let's say stew, it should cook for at least half an hour, because that, not too high flame, because that will make it release all its liquid, which make it with this special flavor, which is quite sweet. So if you don't find the tropea onion, just use any red onion, peel it quite a lot up to the heart, or not the heart, but almost, you don't have to see the color, the red color anymore. It seems to be a big waste. Usually when they are old onions, old, they've been seasoning, they've been kept on a rope, I don't know, for a while. They are obviously protecting with the skin, which is quite thick. That part you have to throw it. As you can see, you just have to get to the white part, which is the heart. To make it release is liquid faster, I'm going to add some salt, because obviously the salt will make it release all this liquid faster.
Liz was just saying, actually, it's true. Liz was just commenting that actually there was a television program in the UK. There's the television chaps are called the Hairy Bikers, and they were traveling around Italy, and they were on television just last week, actually, just for some repeats. And they went to the Tropea onion farm, and they also showed someone making. I think it's funny. Did you not go there with the pasta grannies as well, Livia? You're obviously a trailblazer.
Yes, we went there to film, so that's why I've been there. I filmed the producer. There are not many. There are in Spilinga, which is the village where it comes from. There are not many producers. Let's say maybe like 20, not many. So it's not a big a product sold a lot. But actually, now that you maybe thought about it, when we were there, we talk about the fact that it's exported also in UK. So and they actually are a big consumers of Nduja. So I think for sure you can find it. You said you can find, because I want to make sure you can find it, and you said you can find it, right?
Yeah, definitely local waitrose as well.
So maybe not just a Waitrose, maybe you can find it also in other supermarkets. And then now everyone is used to buy things online, so that's not a problem. There are two different ways of Nduja. This is the one that was given to me when I was there. This is spreadable like a, I don't know, like if you want ketchup, actually. Yeah, like a paste. So you take it out, you spread it on top of the bread. I will show you later. But this is like a little bit modern invention, okay? But the other way, it's the way I will show you with the old piece that you actually warm with a spoon a little bit, so that is easier to spread on top of bread. But now let's make the pasta, Lauren. And it's not that if you got anything to say, you can say. If you see that my onion is burning, you tell me. Okay, now turn it up a little bit. But no, I mean, if you, because while I'm working sometimes, while I'm making the pasta, my brain is not very connected to the talking, so you have to have. Okay, so this is about half amount of durum wheat, and the other half is tender grain 00. So it's normal 00 flour, then I will show you, and a bit thicker grain. In this case, I'm using a flour that I bought when I was with Antonio in Puglia. Okay, Senatore Cappelli is the name of the variety of the durum wheat grain that I'm using. This is, you call it semolino. I don't know why. In Italy, semolino is something different. It's a different thickness from semola flour. but I think I should call it semolino for you to understand what I'm talking about. This is durum with flour, semola rimacinata, remilled, so it's quite thin in this case. Okay, I will show you. It got a more dark yellow color. Okay. We have used these before in other recipes in the south. So our guests that go to Puglia or Sicily, they usually use this grain. That, as you can see, it's, I don't know if you can see it, but if I compare the white and the yellow, even with my not very good light, maybe you can see that they are different color. So the granny I've learned this pasta from use a mixture of these two flour. But then there are other grannies that use just semola, so it depends on. Yeah. And
what's the name of this pasta you're making, Livia? This is a new one.
Allora, this pasta is called filet, plural. It's written fileia with a at the end that we pronounce a, but it's actually pronounced in the English way filet. At least don't have to pronounce the a at the end. And it reminds you of the fact that I've made it before this morning, just to have some ready. Okay, so it reminds you of un filo, let's say. Filo, come si dice? Un filo is a wire, actually, let's say. So it's a long shape, so that's why. Okay, and I will show you. If you want to make it together, you need either a wooden or a stick, which is made with metal, which in the past used to be the umbrella sticks. Come si dice? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, actually, the traditional way to do it, where I've learned it, is with a wooden stick, which everyone have much easier. And that's why it's called fileia, because it got this long shape. And it's made with the stick in the area where I film, near Spillinga, where they make Nduja. And this stick is called disa. Disa is the name of the plant, which is poacea, which is a little bit like an herb, like a grass, like a thick stalk of grass, let's say, that is dry out and is used to make pasta. Okay. Poacea is the name of the category botanically of the grass that is used to produce the stick. This is just a normal wooden stick. You could use a little, I don't know, can I call it maybe bamboo stick or something like that you usually, you keep an eye on my onions, right? Because I don't, if you can see it, because I don't want to turn around and I find it completely burned. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay, so for this pasta, we are using a mixture of this flour and some warm water. I gave you an indication of amounts. When you add water to the dough, always use not a big amount of water all together at the same time, but add it little by little, because your flour can have different humidity. It could be they require more water or less. So just add the water little by little and maybe do little wells on the side to mix better the rest of the flour if you got any left. So you see, I'm adding a little bit, about 150 ml if you're doing 200 grams of flour. In this case, I think I'm making less. When you make a dough with just water and flour, you don't actually need to check the weight if you add the water little by little, but do it little by little. This is like, let's say, cavati in Sicilia, that our guests have learned how to do when they were there, or obviously, orecchiette, that everyone knows very well. Antonio teach them how to make them. So it's similar, though. Actually, there is a bit more tender grain flour here. So you see, now I'm not sure I will need more flour, but I'm mixing this amount of flour with this amount of water for now, and try to add these bits of crumbs that I got on the board. Because then if I add too much flour, I will have to add, too much water, I will have to add more flour, and then I will end up to have a big amount of pasta at the end. It's always better to add a little by little. Va bene.
It's amazing how quickly you can make pasta.
Very, very fast, yeah. This is the typical dough from the south of Italy, from let's say half height of half the way through Italy, let's say, and lower. So that's a typical pasta from Calabria with different names. You can find it also in, for example, in Amalfi area, so in Campania. So, you know, it gets different names, but the dough is always the same because that's the grain that they have, so that they produce.
Yeah, I remember years ago. Sorry, yeah, I remember years ago we used to make a kind of pasta that was called strozza preti.
See, strozza preti, they are usually more north. They actually from here, usually, as far as I know, they come from areas where the priest was dominating, where the Pope was dominating. So that's, for example, Emilia-Romagna. There was a domination of the church, very big, and where people hated the priest and wanted to cook something that would make them choke. Why they come to visit? Because usually the priest was coming to get money, for example, for the rent of something. So strozza preti are more from the north. So for strozza preti, usually you would use tender grain flour and water. The thickness of semola flour make it slightly different. Yeah, more rough also surface. And also in the south, and there was less money to keep the eggs for pasta. So that's why the tradition of the north to make egg pasta, because it was a place where without the problem of too hot temperature, you could produce a lot of vegetables and fruit without having to water. So it was more agriculture orientated area. So for that reason, they were more rich, let's say, a little bit more rich, and they could afford to have eggs in the pasta. Comunque, so this is the consistency. As you can see, I've done this kind of movement, which is a way to stretch it and to help the gluten to be activated. Okay. And then now, after I've done this for a few minutes, the more you work it, the easier it will be then to, sorry, I check my onion. It will be then to roll it. Yeah. And then I got some that I got made previously, because when the gluten have set, for sure it will be easier to roll the pasta. Okay, because you have extensibility in a dough after the gluten have settled. And now we'll place my pasta usually to rest at least 15 minutes. So either you work it instead of going to the gym for about, let's say, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and then that way you work the dough and you activate the gluten with your hands, so working it hard. Otherwise, you let it rest, okay, like I'm doing here. Actually, I've made it yesterday evening. Okay, and now I add a little bit of...
Yeah, I was just looking to see who's joining us. Livia, so can we just catch up? Liz is there, Val's there too, Anne.
Ciao a tutti.
Yeah, Anton's with us as well. Caroline, Julia. Gosh, we've got the usual crew on a Monday lunchtime, which is great. I wonder what everyone's up to. I wonder what they're cooking for lunch. Do let us know what's on the menu today. I'm always curious to see what everyone else is having lunch.
Yeah.
Get organised. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the nice weather.
It's not here. It's raining today. It was good until yesterday, but now it's raining.
And also we've got Alessio is with us. Alessio's saying hello.
Ciao Alessio.
Yeah, he's with us as well.
E non c'è Antonio, no. Antonio or Carla, no. They're resting today.
I spoke to Carla yesterday in Sicily, and she was saying it's 20 degrees, and the forecast was going to get warmer as well, up to 25.
It's really warm. Yesterday I was working in the garden with short sleeves on, so warm. So now, while you're talking, Lorna, I'm making this sausage. Okay, like a thin sausage, about one, let's say, centimeter high, thick, let's say. So, and we could call it, we roll this dough like if it was a rope, into a rope shape, let's say. And then after you got the thicker rope, and then you make it thin thinner using this part of your finger, because your hand. Because if I use my fingers, I would leave the print of my finger. I would press. When you roll something thinner, it's always easier. You see, I'm making this shape of my finger. Instead, if I use the palm, I can make it round easier. Okay, so using the palm, you roll a thin rope, let's say. Okay, checking my onion. Because I'm leaving it, you can also stew the onion covered. That would make it release this liquid faster. And you're also quite sure that if the flame is not too high, you won't burn it. Instead, if you leave it uncovered without the lid, and I'm leaving it open for you to see it now, so that's why. If you leave it open, then it's more risk to burn it. If you find out that your dough is too dry, I suggest you to wet your fingers like this, and then wet your palm with a little bit of water, and then you will find much easier to roll out the rope shape. Or 1 centimeter thick, but then I will gradually roll it thinner until it's about 1 centimeter diameter. Let's say.
Yeah.
So this is, you see, when you see it's not rolling easy, just wet your palm. So that way you will wet also the dough, and you will roll easier on the board. Flour don't make it roll easy. Okay. I think now I should add the tomato because I'm a bit worried that we are going to burn my onion. So for the tomato, I'm going to add plum tomatoes as usual, as I said before. Plum tomatoes is the best compromise between a fresh onion, fresh tomato and a passata. Passata, it goes through a process where it makes it very thick and very colorful and too much flavor of tomato. Instead, these combine well in a sauce. So these are plum tomatoes that, as usual, I'm going to squeeze by hand.
Top tip.
Yeah. And that way you get rid of the thicker bits and you will combine better with the rest of the sauce. And even if I suggested, you know, to cook the onion for much longer and maybe covered with a lid, I'm going to add my tomato now because obviously here we need to film and we need it. So I'm adding, making 1 onion, the amounts that I wrote you, so I think about 300 grams of tomato. Okay. You could also prepare the tomato sauce in another pan and then stew the onions separately so they don't get too stressed, because here we're making a recipe that needs to be ready in a short time for a lunch, so for a fast lunch. I'm making, let's say, the faster version, slightly faster. Okay. I let it cook, never too high because I don't want to burn it, but I want them to combine well. Every time I add an ingredient, I also add a little bit of salt. I flavor each ingredient at a time, salt, and then a little bit of pepper. Okay. And now I let it cook. Meanwhile, I also get ready with the water for the pasta.
Yeah, and you would never add any sugar to your tomato sauce, Livia, no?
Yes, you're right. Yes, especially if it's just a tomato sauce, you should always add a bit of sugar. Actually, now I can add some, because it will make it take off the acidity of the tomato, which most of the time, unfortunately, they have. But in this case, onions are already quite sweet, so but I've added it. But you know, onions are sweet, so it's not that important because I think they already going to take away the sweetness, the acidity. Okay, so now that I got this long rope, okay.
And can you just remind me, if anyone's just joined, I think Jane's just joined us, she's been swimming. Well done, Jane. Can you just remind anyone who's just joined us what we're cooking again, what the name of the dish is and the pasta?
Yeah, sure. Ciao Jane, allora we are making filet con l'Nduja. Okay, so Nduja is, let's say, like a pork meat, and most of all, more important ingredient is the pepper, which is inside Nduja. I don't think there is a vegetarian version, Jane, because I know Jane is vegetarian, but you can do it for your son, maybe. It's better quality than a sausage would be, a medium sausage would be, because it's made with, come si dice, Lorna, la polpa nella carne, like a good cut of meat, not too fat. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Si dice polpa, I don't know how to say it in English. It's like more meaty, let's say, more than fat parts, not just with fat bits. And it's really tasting a lot of pepper. That doesn't mean chili pepper. So for the person that don't like chilies, it doesn't mean, Nduja doesn't mean that it's chili. Always, it's not always chili. You can find also the sweet one. And actually, the sausages that are combined to make Nduja are not only chili, spicy, but also sweet peppers. We call them sweet. Allora, so this is what they call, let's say, disa. So it comes from this plant, which is a poacea. Okay, so we got this piece of dough, which the pasta fileia is made just with water and flour, a mixture of durum, wheat, and tender grain. I will roll it just, let's say, one time around this rope, around this stick, make it stick a little bit, and then with the palm, I roll it thinner along the stick and I make it slide out.
It looks very much like Micchiaredi,
Micchiaredi, bravissima.
Yeah?
Esatto, yeah, it's very similar, very similar. I think in Micchiaredi the shape is very important. Instead here, it's not that important, and they call it fileia. Some grannies that we film, because this is one of the main, let's say the only pasta that they are famous for in Calabria. They call it even just pasta di casa, like homemade pasta, because that's the only one that they have. Instead, Micchiaredi, Lorna, they remind you of a dirty bit, which we don't talk about. I don't know. They are special. They go well with orecchiette, and they are called Micchiaredi for that reason. Because they go well with orecchiette. Antonio can tell you everything about this pasta, which is very...
You make it look so easy, Livia. Like, I've tried to make that kind of pasta a few times now, and you make it look like so simple. I was just looking in the comments. We've got Philippa, who's joining us from Australia, quarter past.
Ciao!
So yeah,
I know
and Mark says, "Ciao Livia, mi scusi, sono in ritardo."
Ecco, Mark, we have talked about you, so you should listen to the video before. I said we can wait for your pasta pictures on the Facebook page. Okay. So this is durum wheat flour, tender wheat flour mixed. It's, the fact that you roll it around the stick and then you press with your palm, you do that to make it thinner and longer. So this way, if I unfold one, you will see that it's just a thin piece of pasta. And the sauce will stick inside.
Right.
So that's the reason why they do it. And they obviously do it with what they have. And in the past, it was much easier to find a piece of grass, thick stalk of grass in the field than stainless steel, aluminium, metal stick like this, which is, I find it also a little bit more difficult than the wooden one. Yeah. And you can find these if you, in UK there are a lot of umbrellas. So you should have some umbrellas broken, and you should take off, instead of throwing it and changing it, you should take this off and use it for your pasta. That's my new.
I was also wondering if anybody's watching. I know lots of our guests are watching, are keen pasta makers. It would be really interesting if they could let us know where in the UK they buy their pasta flour. It'd be really interesting if you get some recommendations for where they get pasta flour, because it would be interesting if you pop it in the comments. It'd be really great, really useful to know.
Yeah, it was difficult also up here in my region to find durum wheat flour when I was younger. I remember when I started cooking, when I was 17, I remember it was not easy to find semola flour. So now actually it's everywhere, and because a lot of people from the south came to live in the north and brought their traditions, and so that's why every supermarket have also semola flour here. But in the past it was mainly tender grain flour. But now we can find. So I guess in the ideal world where we all get together, maybe also in UK you will get semola flour in the future. You can find it easier than now. Okay, so now let's check with our sauce. Obviously, if you make the sauce cook a little bit longer, reduce, and then maybe cook it for a little bit covered, the more it cooks, the less it will be acidic, okay? The more the tomato will be easy to digest, and the flavor will be better. I won't cook it for a long time now.
And is that just the onions and the tomatoes? You haven't added in the sausage yet? No.
No, I've just there are just onions and tomatoes. So mainly there are onions and a little bit of tomatoes. You can see it's quite thick. You can also add some basil if you like, but in the traditional recipe there's no basil. But here I got a lot of good basil that I bought to plant to have basil all year round, and I'm going to break some. When there's tomato, basil goes very well. Okay. And now we're going to melt, let's say, soften the Nduja. I'm going to cook the pasta because when it's just water and flour, pasta usually takes a little bit longer to cook. So I've already had salt in the water. Now I'm cooking the pasta in the water. And meanwhile, we are going to melt the Nduja. So I'm going to scoop out a little bit, and with warm water, I'm just going to melt it just a little. So as you can see, it doesn't seem very fat. The thicker bits that you see most of the time are pepper seeds or even just really peppers, and it doesn't mean it's chili. They usually use a pepper, I don't remember the name right now, but they usually use a pepper which it doesn't have too much flesh because it will dry faster. Because they have to dry the pepper before mixing it to the meat when it's all mixed together. It has to be dry, but not too dry. If it's too dry, it would make the Nduja, let's say, too hard. Instead, the typical consistency of Nduja is this soft consistency that makes it spreadable on bread and easy to mix to any other preparation. So as you can see, if I dilute it with some water, it will mix better to the pasta.
And would it be good on sort of bruschetta or something like that with bread?
Yes, on a bruschetta. Now I'm going to show you. On a bruschetta, you just have to spread it on top. You can just warm it with a spoon. You don't need to warm it with warm water. This is the consistency. Okay. I'm going to mix it now. Sorry, I mix it now to sauce.
And if I'm not so familiar with that, Livia. In terms of spice, on a scale of 1 to 10, how spicy is it?
Allora, each of them are different because it depends on who produces them. It depends on how spicy he wants to make them. So, and each of them can be, each of Nduja also can be made with different spiciness because it depends on the pepper that they're using it. So you should read on the package, or the best way, I think, is to taste it. Now I'll show you. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll taste it. So on some bread, I will take some with a spoon, kind of work it a little bit with the spoon, warming it, mixing it like this so it gets warmer. Okay. And then I take this amount and slice it. I've spread it here. Obviously, if you have warmer bread, maybe it's better. And then you just taste it. This is Toscan bread. It's a little bit hard and I didn't warm it. So I'm not going to use this to try it, but I'm going to use il pane romagnolo. This is Emilia Romagna bread, very different from Toscan bread. It always seems like there is a competition in my mind about Tuscany. Okay, so just take another little bit.
While you're doing that, Livia, Claire was saying that in London there's a new place opened called Eat Italy. And I think they've got one, there's one in New York, but I think there's got one in Bologna. Isn't that huge big warehouse they've got outside Bologna?
It's a very famous shop where they sell all the slow food, mainly everything, but also all the slow food presidium products of all over Italy for sure. Yeah, and it's very famous.
And they actually give you bicycles to go around because it's just so large to get from one place to the other. It was amazing.
Yes, we got one in Bologna. Yeah, the one in Bologna, which is bigger. The first one is in the center of Bologna, and it's like a library where you can also find the slow food presidium food in center, and it's near the two towers. Instead, the one that you can find outside the center of Bologna, it also show you each product, how it is produced. So you can go see how mortadella is made, how Parmigiano is made. You go to little, come si dice, trials, where you can actually see how it's made, and there are also animals and everything that is produced. So I'm going to try it now, Lauren, to see if it's too.
Liz is saying they've got Eat Italy in Rome and Bari. Yeah, they're really nice shops. That's great. You've got one in London. A little taste of Italy in London. Perfect. Really nice. I won't ask you a question, Livia, since you've got your mouth full.
No, it's not too chilly. No, a little bit chilly, but not too chilly in this case. Okay.
That's great. Thanks for that tip, Claire. We'll be, next time we're in London, we can go and visit that shop. It's great.
Comunque, what I wanted to make sure that you have understood is just that the Nduja is not a sausage, let's say. It's based on pork meat. There is a lot of meat. There is 70% of meat and 30% of pepper, but it's actually a pepper sausage. So, and the pepper is not always chili. So it is really a special product, different from usual. And right now I got the chili in my stomach.
And with the pasta, with the fresh pasta, Livia, just as soon as the pasta rises to the top, that's when you know it's cooked. And
yeah, it's I can see when the color change. The color change up to, let's say, now I'll show you from closer. You can see that the color has been changing because it gets a little bit softer, let's say, a little bit, in a way that you can. If you put the fork through, it go easier. You can see the consistency is changing. So there's no time really. When it's handmade pasta, anyone that tell you, yes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, it's just because you ask and they will tell you a reply. But actually, when it's handmade, usually there cannot be a special time, a precise time, of cooking. So it depends really on who have made it, and how your seniors work it, and if the same person have made it all, then for sure got the same thickness. But if many persons, like we usually do at the lesson, have made it in different thickness, it will cook in different times for sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of the problems of cooking lessons.
Okay, so we'll turn this off. Ecco qua. So I got it here.
Oh, it looks delicious.
It's dirty and
yum. Well, it's gorgeous, Livia. It looks really tasty.
We made it.
Delicious. That's great. And if anyone wants the recipes on, I think Kieran's manning Facebook, so pop the link for the recipe on Facebook as well. And it's also on the Flavours blog as well. In fact, all the recipes that you've done, Livia, if anyone goes onto the main Flavours website on the blog, you'll see all the recipes that we've done. In fact, we must put them together in a wee book maybe and make a little book.
Very bello. Really a good idea. Quindi, Lauren, next week you're not going to be there because you're going to Ely with a group.
No, I'm still here next week. No, I'm here. Are you here next week? That's good, hopefully. Next week together. Yeah.
So is it Louise going to be the chef of...
Louise is going to be in Ely, It's a couple of weeks' time in May. That's going to be our first Flavours group of the year. Going to be in Ely. And yes, a bit of taster week. They're going to do a day painting, a day doing photography, a day doing sort of Pilates, and visits, Andrews, the V&A, out and about, and yeah, Erie's always lovely. We've been there. It's a really gorgeous location, and it's about 45 minutes from Edinburgh, so it's not too far away, which is great.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
no, actually, if it's already warm there, I know the weather can change, and also here it's changing all the time, but never been warm in UK at this time of the year, right? So if it's not too cold, that means the weather is changing. And
April's been really dry, actually. It's been one of the driest Aprils on record, according to the radio I heard the other day. So yeah, it's been very dry, which is great. I think I said I spoke to Carla yesterday, and she was saying in Sicily it's going to hit 30 degrees next week. So yeah, it'd be great to be there too.
Oh, let's wait to go back to Sicily then.
Yeah.
And in the future also we will go to Calabria, Sardinia, and Liguria. After I will be back from Liguria, I will have to promote Liguria in my mind, in my brain. You know, when I go to a place, I would like everyone to go to the place. What I mean?
Liguria would be lovely. And what are you doing in Liguria? Are you filming for Pasta Grannies?
Yes, we're filming for Pasta Grannies, because actually there is also a special request from the Pixar, Disney. They have done a cartoon, an animation, which is about un personaggio, a character, which is called Luca, which is like a boy that eats pasta al pesto all the time, because the author of this animation is from Liguria. He's a young person that left Liguria when he was young and went to live in Los Angeles. So it's all about Pasta Grannies to promote the video. So I'm finding all the grannies that will prepare pesto, and because that's what the characters in the video have been fed off by their granny during the animation. So it's really a special occasion. Anyway, we're going to be there filming also for our normal videos. And actually, we're going to Cinque Terre.
Oh, wow, lovely.
It could be another place where we have to add a flavor holiday there. Actually, I've never been in my life. I've been to Liguria many times, never been to Cinque Terre.
No, it'd be lovely. Gorgeous. Well, that's great. So you'll send us some pictures, but we'll be together next week for a live next Monday. What are you thinking we might cook? Maybe we should cook something typical from Liguria.
Yeah, we can start with something from Liguria and something with fish or something. I always think we don't do enough things with fish. Maybe because I don't live in a very fishy region, so, but that's why in my mind. But well, let's see if someone have any requests, and then we will decide during the week.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's super. Yeah, has an idea. We'll see you next Monday. That's great. We'll have a lovely week. Thanks everyone for joining us. It was nice to catch up on a Monday. It's always tradition, part of our week really on a Monday, doing our live with Livia, which is great. Get some ideas for what we're going to cook. And we'll see you next week. Have a good week. Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Ciao.